Hey BookTube, so John Green. You either hate him or you love him. You either hate how he writes cliche stories or you love his beautiful writing styles. I personally love John Green. I don't love all of his books, but the ones I do like are so good. Today we are going to be ranking all of the John Green books. And before we start, this was inspired by Eric over at Break Even Books, who did a video just like this where he ranked John Green books. So the one that's not really applicable is Let It Snow, which is a collab that he did with Maureen Johnson and Lara Miracle, and it's just like a romance set in Christmas, and it's just a lot of stories that fit that theme, and I just don't think I'm going to read it. I might. I mean, now I have read a Maureen Johnson book, and I did like Truly Devious, so maybe I will read it, but as of now, I just haven't. And then the other book that's not really applicable is An Abundance of Katherines. Now, actually, this is D tier. Out of all the books by John Green that I've read, this has to be by far my least favorite. I think I got like halfway through this, and when you hear people that talk about what they don't like about John Green, this is the summation of that, and this is it done to the absolute worst. So we follow this unlikable main character named Colin. What was his name? I don't care. And sometimes I like unlikable main characters in books, right? Like, I appreciate it, and you know, you don't always have to read about likable main characters. But with this book, it just got so annoying after a while. He's just like this mathematical prodigy, and he got on my nerves. And just like, for the beginning, I could see the way that the story was going, and it just did not interest me in any way. I hated this book. It had cliches. It didn't have the best writing style, and I didn't like our main characters at all. I think one of them had like a letter as his name, and I prefer not to think about this book. I think this is like his lowest rated book on Goodreads, and it's for good reason. It is not a good book. Now let's go to Will Grayson, which I also have not read. I am going to read it. It's high on my TBR. Maybe not extremely high, but I do want to read it. I own it. It's in my collection. I just haven't read it as of yet. But come on, John Green, David Levitan. That's a recipe for a great book. So yeah, I cannot wait to read it eventually. Now, these last 4 books are all books that I have read. Okay. Hurled all the way down, I'm gonna put at B tier. And I think this is definitely the most personal book for John Green. It deals a lot with mental illness and OCD, and you can definitely tell that it's a really personal story for him, and I appreciate that so much, that he gave a voice and an outlet for lots of people who deal with that stuff. And it's also like a really good story. I loved the friendship, and it's a good mystery, and I just did not see what was coming at the end. And it's just a good John Green story. It's heartbreaking, it has good writing, and I also did like the main love interest. Now, I didn't love this book. I did feel like it dragged on, and scenes definitely didn't have much substance, and it just didn't have that special quality to it, right? Like, it wasn't, from an objective standpoint, like, there's nothing like wrong with it, but I just didn't love it. Like, it was a good book, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely not my favorite John Green book. The Fault in Our Stars. I'm gonna put this at A tier. This is is it the first John? I think it is the first John Green book that I read. It's so incredibly popular. It has a movie adaptation that's also really good. The Fault in Our Stars is one of the better movie adaptations. Shailene Woodley and Ansel Elgort do such a great job at playing Hansel. Oh my god. Hazel and Augustus. And just this book is so good. It's a book that deals with cancer, but it's not at all a cancer book. It's a book about people, and it deals with so many important themes about death and trying to find meaning in this world. And the romance is so good. I loved the relationship, and it grew so much through this book, and there's just so much that's iconic in this book. From the breakfast scene, the swing set, to the dinosaur park. Like, there's just so much I love about this book. The writing style. This is John Green at some of his best in terms of writing style. It's such a beautiful writing style. And yeah, there's just, I love this book so much. The characters, the writing style, just, it's such a good book, and I loved the ending. It was so heartbreaking, but it was also so beautiful. And also, like, I love that John Green didn't go the traditional route with the author meeting. I was definitely expecting something, and we didn't get that, but I definitely respect and like more the way that he decided to go. Paper Towns. It's definitely better than Turtles All the Way Down for me. I really love, first of all, the metaphor in this book. There's just an overarching metaphor about paper towns and just plasticity and how people put on these personas. And I felt like in the beginning it was definitely explored more surface level. But my God, in the last half of this book, do we go deep into people that put up personas that feel like they have to do it in order to survive. It's just such a great book. I loved our main character, Q, and just, yes, I did feel like he thought way too much about this girl, but it was warranted because, like, she's missing and nobody was really caring about her other than the parents, and so he was like going deep into this mystery, and I just love that entire friendship group. It was just so funny and so realistic. And that road trip, I do really want to reread this book because it's just such a fun road trip story, and the characters are just so great. And Ben, just, yeah, it's a fun story. And if you're looking for a road trip story that also goes deep into like some themes of the personas that we create when we're young in high school, yeah, this is great. Now the last one, Looking for Alaska. Yeah, if you're a long-time viewer of the channel, you know that this is one of my, if not my favorite book of all time. From Miles, who's seeking this great perhaps, and she just learns so much through this book about how to deal with trauma and how to make meaning of life, of religion. It's just such a good book from a philosophical lens, but also from just a writing. Like, this is some of the scenes are just written so beautifully, and I just love all of the characters, from Alaska to the Colonel to Takumi. Just, yeah, I just loved this entire band of characters. I feel like John Green is so good at creating great characters. Okay, now just an overarching review of John Green. Yes, he goes into a lot of cliche, and if you have noticed with a lot of his books, there's the manic pixie girl, you have Alaska, and the book we don't talk about, Abundance of Katherines, there's definitely that same thing. In Turtles All the Way Down, you have one. In The Fault in Our Stars, you just have like that pixie dream girl, and it's just definitely a cliche that he goes to. Like, I'm not like other girls kind of trope. But like, I feel like if you could look past that, like, there's just so much merit to all of his books, from the way he writes to what he writes about, just how much meaning he's able to impart in his books. I just feel like I love John Green. There's definitely some books of his that are not as good, and Abundance of Katherines. Now, which book should you read first is a different question. If you're looking for a more deep and just a hard-hitting story, looking for Alaska and The Fault in Our Stars. But if you're just looking for a fun story, Paper Towns is the one I highly recommend to you. That's the different ways I would recommend John Green. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment down below some of your favorite John Green books, subscribe, turn post notifications on, and I'll see you next time with another video. Bye.